Hello, welcome to another video, another day of April, another video. I hope you're enjoying Vida still. We've come a long way at this point, I believe. Still going strong. Right, today, as you can tell from the title and the thumbnail, I'm a little bit early at this, I think, but I'm going to bring you some summer recommendations. Summer is just around the corner. The weather has been pretty decent recently, or at least at the point of filming this it has, but I am filming in advance. But summer is just around the corner, and some summer fantasy recommendations seems like something I could provide you with. I'm pretty good with my winter fantasy recommendations purely because of my love for polar fantasy, so I've got lots of polar fantasy recommendations on my channel, but I don't think I've ever done summer recommendations before, so a little outside of my usual offering, but I have a selection of books here that I think are good reads for the summer season. I've got 5 adult stroke YA books for you and then 5 middle grades, so keeping the variety there a little bit, but yeah, summer's on the way. Here's some summer recommendations from me to you. We will kick this off with the middle grade, I think. First up, I have Nevermore by Jessica Townsend. This really could be read at any time of year, however, the fun just makes me think summer. Summer, fun, adventure. That's really my logic for this one. This is such a well-loved middle grade book. It follows the young Morrigan Crow, who is a cursed child destined to die on the eve of her 11th birthday. However, when that date comes around, she is swiped away to Nevermore by the eccentric Jupiter North, where she must compete in some trials to earn her place in the wondrous society. It's just really good fun. I think the book actually takes place over an entire year because there is Christmas in here, but there is also summer in here, or at least I think so. But I'm thinking fun, adventure. I can imagine sitting and reading this in the park, in the sunshine, at a beach, in the sunshine, somewhere in the sunshine, and it's just the sort of book that you could lay back, enjoy the sunny weather, and gobble up entirely, in my opinion. Here comes the sun, right on cue. Yeah, it's just a whole lot of fun, although, to be honest, could be a bit of a cheat in this video already, because you could read this at any time of year and it would be good fun. Around Christmas time, good fun. Autumn time, good fun. Springtime, good fun. Right now, good fun. No time is a bad time to read Nevermore, but I think that it would be a good one to read over the park in the sunshine. That's the sort of vibes I get from this. If you haven't read Nevermore, though, where have you been? If you're a fan of middle grade, then you'll enjoy this. If you're not a fan of middle grade, but you're a fan of a magical adventure, then I still think you'll enjoy this at any time of year. But I'm throwing it on here for a summer recommendation. Next up is one that confuses me that I've put on here, but Anya and the Dragon by Sophia Pasternak. I read this for Polathon, and now I'm putting it in a summer recommendations list. The reason I read this for Polathon is because it's got those Slavic folklore vibes that I really enjoy, and it didn't specify a season, so naturally when there's these Slavic folklore vibes it generally tends to be some sort of wintry setting. This, however, does not give those wintry vibes at all. This is definitely spring or summer. We have our characters running through grassy fields, and there's the lake with the still body of water on a sunny day, so definitely has more summery vibes than wintry vibes. But this follows a young girl called Anya, whose family have fallen upon hard times. In this world, magic exists, but is ever so slightly forbidden, but it still exists and people still mess around with it a little bit. An opportunity presents itself to Anya to join the King's Fool in hunting for a mysterious dragon. This could be one of the last dragons, and it may be living in this village. And Anya has the struggle of whether she can go through with this, whether she can hunt this dragon. It would solve a lot of her family's problems. It could help them out. but it's a bit of a moral dilemma for Anya. So it's kind of her journey of what she's willing to do, but also the friendships she makes along the way. This was really wholesome. I really enjoyed this. It was a super quick read, and of course it's got those Slavic folklore vibes in there that I really enjoy, so bound to be something that I'm going to recommend. But yeah, surprised me that it had more summery vibes than wintry vibes, so I'm throwing this one in as a summer recommendation. Next up I have The Land of Roar by Jenny McLaughlin. This takes place across a summer holiday, so definitely a summery middle grade here. This follows twins Arthur and I've forgotten her name, Rose. That's it. This follows twins Arthur and Rose who are visiting their grandfather across either a summer holiday or a half term or something. They're going to visit their grandfather and they help him clean out the attic, where they find an old camping bed that when they were much younger they used as their portal to the Land of Roar, which was the make-believe game that they used to play as younger children. They remember this game and discover that it might not be quite as make-believe as they thought it was as they adventure back into the Land of Roar. This is everything that fun, adventurous, imaginative middle grade is. There's dragons, there's a wizard ninja, there's all sorts of creatures that are involved in this make-believe Land of Roar. It's just fun. It's these kids rediscovering their imagination and stumbling across their younger selves' memories and reviving that. Is really good fun. I've enjoyed this series so far and I look forward to reading the third one. But also, just appreciate like the cover of this, the landscape of the Land of Roar. It spreads out even further than that, actually. Look at that! Isn't it cool? I think it's really cool. Next up, I have Malamanda by Thomas Taylor. This one would definitely pass as a summer recommendation or an autumn heading into winter recommendation, because it takes place at a kind of rundown seaside town, which is why it gives me summer vibes, because I think of these rundown seaside towns and how you visit them in the summer and they're kind of pretending to be like something spectacular with the names all up in lights, but the reality of it is that most of the time they're run down and those light bulbs don't work. And that's definitely the vibe that Cerulean Sea, where this book is set, gives us. It's just after tourist season, the lights are all kind of blown out, the bulbs are gone, the fog's rolling in, it's all a little bit eerie on sea when it should be cheery on sea. But this follows the story of a young Herbert Lemon who is a hotel's lost and founder. I think it's the Grand Nautilus Hotel. And Violet Palmer turns up at Herbert Lemon's lost and found station because she is lost and would like to be found. And it's their adventure to find out what's happened to Violet's parents, but also the mystery of what is the Malamanda, has it awoken and is it lurking in the sea fog? So it's got this eerie setting, but also this eerie lore around the Malamanda and what the people in this eerie village think of it. It's so super atmospheric, but also just a whole lot of fun. I really enjoyed this, and the sequel to it, Gargantus, I think is even better. So the two of them together, these two, I think are perfect summer reads. They're quick, they're middle grades, they're fast paced. Despite the setting being the seaside town, it is a little rundown, so maybe autumn, but I think still good for summer, because I think those seaside towns that are run down after tourist season are also still a little rundown in the summer, let's be honest. But yeah, those beachy vibes, and I mean, if you're somewhere where the summer isn't necessarily sunny, like the UK, then it gives me these vibes. I can think of places I've been to that are very similar to Cerulean Sea, whether you go in the winter or the summer, to be honest. But the atmosphere in these is fantastic, and the legends of the creatures also really compelling. So I've enjoyed these and would definitely recommend for summer reads. And the last middle grade one I have is Moonchild, Voyage of the Lost and Found by Aisha Bushby. This is a fantastical middle grade inspired by the Tale of the Arabian Nights. This follows a young girl called Amira, and magic's always been a big part of Amira's life, even though the world around her looks down upon it. Whilst Amira is off on an adventure, a storm rages and her magical cat companion, who is a djinn, goes missing and is abducted or stolen by these magical fiery birds in the sky. This sparks an adventure for Amira to go and find her companion in this stormy weather at sea. This gives me summer vibes mostly because it's set at sea. Despite the storm is something otherworldly, like the storm isn't a natural weather occurring storm. It definitely gives me these summery vibes when they're at sea on the ship, when they dock into the town and there's the market going. I've got these summery feelings from this, and similarly this is the sort of book I think that you could just sit out in the sun and read in one sitting and just totally fall into. It definitely gives me those vibes. Really fast-paced and compelling, and a great adventure. Heading into the YA recommendations, we have The Wicked Deep by Shay Earnshaw. This is one that I read a really long time ago, and I don't think I've spoken about it since. But if you haven't already read this, I know it was wildly popular at a point, but this is a perfect summery read. This literally takes place in summer, in this touristy town as I think it's the Swan Festival takes place, and there is a legend that in the summer, these three sisters that were drowned in the waters surrounding this town come back and drag men to their watery deaths. And it's kind of this whole tourist occasion around this legend. This follows a young girl called Penny who's kind of accepted the fate of this town, because although that is the legend, there is some truth to it. However, when she stumbles across a newcomer to the town called Beau, she wants to protect him from being dragged to a watery death. So it's a little bit eerie, a little bit creepy, bordering on a little bit witchy, but also takes place in the summer, very much surrounded by water, and still gives me those summery vibes, but also a little bit witchy. Could perhaps be a good autumnal read as well, but for the sake of this, we're going for summer. It gives me warm nights, summer warm nights sort of vibes, and takes place in the summer in a town that is currently full of tourists because of this Swan Festival thing. Next up, I have The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. This cover just immediately should give you spring, summer vibes, because it does for me. And again, lots of watery vibes. Books set around water or near the sea or at the coast very often give me summery vibes, because that's what I think of when I think of summer. Going to the lake, going to the beach, being near the water, and our main character in this, Linus Baker, goes to visit the house in the Cerulean Sea, which he has to travel on a ferry to get to because it's literally on an island. So Linus Baker works for the department in charge of magical youth, and he inspects orphanages to make sure that they are fit to run, and these orphanages look after magical children. And he goes to the house in the Cerulean Sea, and we witness him develop an attachment to these kids, an attachment to this place, and just the emotional development in this book is so sweet and so heartwarming. This book is described as middle grade for adults. It is a hug in a book. It's so heartwarming and adorable, and definitely, I think, a perfect summer read. We spend a lot of time in the garden, adventuring, we go out into the town, we spend some time on the ferry. It just gives me all of those summery vibes. So definitely a summery read in my opinion, and also just a fantastic, heartwarming, emotional read too. Next up, I have A River of Royal Blood by Amanda Joy, one that I don't think I recommend enough. This is a North African inspired fantasy world where we have two sisters who are blessed with a little bit of magic. One of them, however, has blood magic, which is this rare and dangerous sort of magic, and in this world the sisters must fight to the death for the throne. However, as one of our sisters has this rare and really dangerous magic, she's never really been taught how to use it properly, so she must seek out an ancient fae teacher to teach her how to use this magic and how she can stand a chance in this fight to the death against her sister. The atmosphere in this book is fantastic. Definitely gives me these summery vibes. There is a scene with like going out at night, dancing in the open air and seeing the skies, and it all just gives me again these warm summer nights vibes. But alongside that, just in general, this book I thought was so underrated and so good. I feel like the fight to the death plot I've seen before but not seen done very well, and this I thought it was done fantastically in. The threat felt very real. And I really enjoyed the tension of the relationship between these sisters and how it all panned out. I have not yet got to the sequel, but I am desperate to do so. But this I thought was fantastic. I really enjoyed the magic and the world. Everything is touched with a little bit of magic and something a little bit fantastical. I thought it was really well developed, and I am very intrigued to read the sequel to this one. I'm sinking in my beanbag again, just gradually getting lower. But whilst I was trying to think of some fantasy recommendations, I was talking to Steph, and we literally both said this one at the same time. We were both thinking about this book. So that just shouts to me that it's definitely got some summer vibes in there. And that particular scene of the like dance at night in the open sky really makes me think of warm summer nights. But also lots of violence and bloodshed and a fight to the death. Next up, I have The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. This is one that I read in the summer past, and I think I therefore associate it with summer. I remember sitting in this library room on this chair with the window open, the sun beating in. It was super warm when I was reading it, and I think therefore I just associate it with summer, and I think it was the perfect time to read it. I'm going to recommend you the same experience I had of reading this one in the sunshine, being super warm and having a good time. It's another one where I think it would be perfect to read at the beach or in the park or in the sunshine. Just so compelling. You can fly through so much of this because it's such an addictive read. But this takes place in the city of New York, and each of the districts of New York are personified as people. And this is the story of how each of these people come to be and meet each other, and they are faced with a threat to New York. And as they are New York's persona, they make up New York, they have to fight this threat to New York themselves. It's a really bizarre concept, a really strange book, but so interesting, so compelling. These characters are so interesting. It's such a diverse cast of characters, and the way they all come together and the way they interact with each other, I think it's brilliant. Like, such a good selection of characters to follow, and such a fascinating plot as they face this supernatural feeling threat to this city. Like, as you can see on the cover here, we've got these tentacles coming out, and it's all very bizarre. It's so imaginative, so creative, and I know that N.K. Jemisin has kind of called this book like her love story to New York, so if you have any sort of affinity to New York and you also feel a bit of love for it, then I think you'd definitely enjoy this. I'm not familiar with New York at all, but I still found the plot of this really compelling, and the only reason I think this is summery is because I read it in the summer and thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't know if it actually takes place in the summer. I don't remember the season being specified, but again, there were some scenes of like outdoorsy in the park at night vibes, which would definitely indicate warmer weather. But my connection to this being a summer recommendation is that I read it in the summer and therefore associate it with summer and recommend the same experience to you. And then finally, I don't think it could be a summer recommendations if I did not recommend The City of Brass, the David trilogy. This obviously takes place in Egypt. This follows a young girl called Nahri, who is a con woman on the streets of Cairo. She has an affinity for people's health or their ailments. She can sense them, and then she cons them into spending more money at her friend's apothecary than they need to. When she is performing one of her cons, she accidentally summons a jinn warrior who exposes her to the City of Brass, the magical world, which she has a bit of a connection to. So we learn all about this magical city through Nahri, but we also follow the perspective of Ali, who is the prince of the City of Brass, so we get to see the political inner workings of the magical world as well. So we get both perspectives, which work so well together. But of course, with this being set in Egypt, starting off in Cairo, it has extreme summer vibes. They are journeying across the desert. It is hot. It's all hot. It's a desert. A good portion of this book is their journey through the Sahara, I think. So, summer vibes. Is it the Sahara? I'm not good with deserts, but they're definitely journeying across some sort of desert. I don't know. But you can see the map, and we've got Egypt down here and the Nile and stuff, so warm vibes for sure going on in there. But really compelling, very political, very fantastical, a series that I've fallen in love with massively. Can we also have some appreciation for the Fairy Loot edition of this book, because it's beautiful and I love it. I desperately want to reread these, and if I can fit a reread in summer, that would be fantastic. I doubt that will happen because they're not small books, but I have fallen in love with this series, absolutely adore them, completely recommend them. If you like really immersive fantasy worlds, this is definitely one of them, and I love the fact that this fantasy world is kind of laying over the top of the normal human world, so we have the direct comparisons on the maps and stuff. It's just really fascinating, and although perhaps a little bit intimidating to start with, the world can be a little bit to get used to, and the history and all of the different people. Once you get stuck into it, it's so compelling. I absolutely love this series and definitely think it's a perfect summer read. And there we have it. There are my summer fantasy recommendations to you. Some of these are perhaps a little bit more summery than others. As I was talking about those, I realised some of them may perhaps be good autumn reads too, but these are the books I think of when I think of books that are perfect to read in summer, in the sun, sat in the sun, or just that they have summery vibes. I recommend all of these to you. So yeah, hopefully this video has been somewhat entertaining, somewhat useful to you. I hope it has. If you have read any of these books and want to let me know your thoughts, please do so down below. And if you have any summer fantasy recommendations as well, please also let me know them down below, because of course summer is coming up and I'm going to want some summer fantasy to sink myself into as well. But yeah, thank you ever so much for watching and hanging out with me for a bit today. I hope you have enjoyed. If you have, give us a thumbs up. I hope you're enjoying Vida, and I will see you again tomorrow for another one. Bye!